What's happening, people? How you guys doing? Another late night video here in the reaction to this Jadon Sancho situation. Big up to Owen. I know he's covered this earlier, being live on the channel, and a lot of you guys have had your say. And I just thought it was important I had my say really before we kind of wrap up the videos for tonight, because it's been a long one and this is just not what you need. Here's my take on it. I just think there's two sides to this. You've got a manager basically calling out a player in public, which I prefer for that not to happen. And then you've got a player clapping back basically and defending his name and sort of saying, look, I'll accept A and B, but I'm not going to have lies told upon me. And now you've got literally a standoff where the manager's saying one thing and Jadon Sancho's saying another. And it couldn't be worse timing. You've just lost an emotional, hard-fought game against Arsenal, and then you get that straight afterwards. Now, let's go straight to the Ten Hag's side of this. Something's been off with Sancho. Obviously, we saw that last year when he was sent away for a while, just before the World Cup, I believe, or was it just after? I can't remember. Just before. And something seemed a little bit off. You know, he'd sent him back to I think, Holland. Look, when you don't know too much about a situation, when you don't know the ins and outs, which we obviously don't, could it be something private? Could it be something to do with his family? Could it be to do with mental health? We don't know. So I think a lot of us was more, you know, behind Sancho, giving him the time. And actually, we put it down to saying that actually Ten Hag probably played that right there, you know, showing the players that if you're not up to it, you won't play, but also I'll put things in place that can help you get back into the team. And he did. And, you know, since he's been coming off the bench this season, he's looked okay. So I find that as a bit concerning, the fact that there was something last year, which we still don't know the extent of what that was. So it's very difficult to speak about it. But it was about backing a player and getting him back into Manchester United's first team as quickly as possible. Then you sort of thinking that should be the end of it. Then if you're not picking him today, look, we saw how limited our options were on the bench today against Arsenal, with Garnacho really the only person who could come off the bench in an attacking sense and make an impact, and he did. But it was odd. And then when Ten Hag's asked about it, he can play it two ways. Some of you guys could be like, why did he have to out him in public and say about the training? And if you think about it, this could have been handled in-house. This could have been handled in-house. I know Ten Hag might have been pissed off because of the manner of the defeat and how the game went and the emotions, etc., and probably thought, I'm just going to say it as it is. And sometimes we say that's refreshing. Sometimes we say, you know, we want our managers to come out and say things as they are. But I don't know, my gut feeling, and I'm reacting off the back of this, you know, after wrapping up all these videos, and maybe I need some time to think about it more, but my initial reaction is maybe that probably wasn't the best idea to do that out in public. Now, again, we're not privy to the conversations that are being had behind the scenes, but as soon as you out a player in public, I just think that the player's always going to get their backup. And that's not me condoning what Sancho's done, because I'm going to get onto that in a second. I'm just talking about Ten Hag's side. I just think if, you know, he says he's picked up an injury or it was tactical, then that's all you need to say. But because he's gone into detail and said, you know, his levels in training weren't high, etc., you know, he's put the dirty laundry out in public. But then you can say it, you can look at it this side, the other side of it, and I totally get when people say this, is the manager's the most important person at the football club, and he's trying to set the standards, and if you're not training well, he'll say it. He'll say it. But I just think you can have those principles behind the scenes, you can have them principles to the players in-house, and they know that. But in public, sometimes I just think you have to be a little bit more astute. But it seems like Ten Hag, in his mind or in his brain, is saying that I'm tired of basically standing up for him. I'm tired of lying. I don't know. That's how it feels, because Ten Hag doesn't have to say the real truth at that moment. He can just say he picked up an injury and we're waiting to see. He picked up a knock. He was, what's the classic? Feeling unwell, you know? And I know we say it's lies and but it protects the situation. And then he can say, rip into Sancho however he needs to in private to get this sorted. And Sancho has taken exception to this. And Owen touched on this bit earlier, and I agreed with him 100%, where he said the first part of it is more of him just saying, you know, he believes that he has trained well. he believes that he has done everything to get into the squad, where the manager's saying that you haven't. So, okay, you're having a disagreement, but it's true. That second part of this statement where he's saying, I've been made a scapegoat, which for a long time, which isn't fair. Not the second part, but it's in the first paragraph, but you get what I mean. I believe there are other reasons to the matter which I won't go into. That shows us that there's something deeper here. That shows us that something is going on between the pair of them, whether the relationship's broken down. And again, from Jadon Sancho's perspective, I get it. He's enraged. I don't know who's advised him to do that. I don't know who sat there and told him that to make this better, the thing you should do right now is type something out in your notes, screenshot it, and put it up on Twitter. I don't know who told him to do that, but I don't think that was the correct response as well. Sometimes when your gaffer says something, you know, you're the one who you have to take that, and then you got to go marching into his office tomorrow morning or ring him straight away and say, what the fuck is this? You know, that's where professionals and, you know, in the adult game, that's how you should be dealing with things. I get it. But at the same time, he's probably thought, no, I'm not letting Ten Hag say that. That's not the truth. And where he says that there's other reasons which I won't go into, we have no idea what they are. I have no idea what they are. So for me to stand here and say, that's what's difficult about this, is to say, oh, Ten Hag is 100% wrong or Sancho is 100% wrong. There's probably blame on both parts here. I think what the biggest thing about this is that it just adds to the chaos at Man United. You know, you've just lost a game in that fashion at the Emirates, and then we have to deal with this, and it's not good. You know, how bad could a Sancho have been in training? If you think about it, he's been in the matchday squad, he's been coming off the bench and actually looking pretty sharp. You know, he's actually looked okay coming off the bench to the point where we were like, he should start. And Ten Hag was reluctant to start him. So clearly, he's not the flavour of the month. But what, in 1 week's preparation from Nottingham Forest at home to now, because Sancho come off the bench in that one again, didn't he? You know, in 1 week's preparation, Ten Hag seen a decline that much that he saw it fit for one of the toughest away games of the season, when we have limited options already and we're littered with injuries across the back line, to drop Sancho completely for the squad for lack of training or lack of having his levels high enough. How badly could his training have fallen off a cliff in that short time? You know, is Sancho just fed up because he's not getting given a fair chance? I'm trying to, you know, because Sancho hasn't gone into it. This is why these things sometimes do more harm than good in terms of to the general public. Because what's really been achieved here? Ten Hag has essentially thrown Sancho under the bus to say that he's not training high enough to a high enough standard, and now the whole world knows that there's discontent between Jadon Sancho and Erik Ten Hag. So he's done that. Some of you may say, good, these players are too soft, they need standards. I get that, but I don't think that was probably the right move. That's what's probably triggered Sancho into saying this. And then you've got the player side of it, where, again, it's just very, very messy. Nobody wins from this situation. Sancho hasn't cleared the air to where now we'll go, oh, actually, that's what happened. That's why there's an issue there. That makes sense. We're no more further ahead of knowing what the hell's going on than we were before kickoff when he was mysteriously not in the squad. I don't know about McTominay as well. I don't know if he said anything about him, but obviously this is the big talking issue. So where do you go now? How do you patch this up? Jadon Sancho's been a player who, look, for the last couple of years since he's come to Manchester United, has not lived up to the heights. Of course he hasn't. He's been a player that we've all stood by and wanted to see the best of him. That's what we want to see. And is it untenable now? What happens now? The transfer window's shut. Okay, in Saudi Arabia it's not, but I doubt that. How do they fix this? You know, how do you move forward for this? Do the club then discipline Jadon Sancho, fine him 2 weeks' wages, suspend him? I don't know, but it's very, very messy, and it just goes into. I'm more pissed off about the constant circus around Man United. You know, I can look at Ten Hag, and you know, I'm not going to let him off scot-free. I think as soon as you say things out loud, you're creating a situation there. I'm going to look at Sancho. I'm saying, listen, when the gaffer says certain things, ring him. Go knock on his door tomorrow and have it out. As adults, as men, have it out, you know, face to face. Who's advised you to say that? Because now you've opened up a big can of worms. But at the same time, and this is where I'm not afraid to say it, who am I to tell Jadon Sancho how to deal with things if he feels he's been, you know, unfairly treated. I get it. I understand that. So this is clearly a situation that there's so much more going on under the layers of this. There's so much complexity to this that we don't know. Managers and players fall out all the time. Absolutely. You know, in a top class dressing room at the top of the game, or whether it's at grassroots or Sunday league, managers and players sometimes don't get on. Players and players don't get on. It's part of life. It's part of any working environment. People sometimes don't get on. It's how you deal with it. And to air it at the biggest club in the world, to air that on the eve of losing a game like we did, where the players will be emotionally drained after that. And now all of the headlines aren't about, I know we lost the game, so there weren't a lot of positivity, but it isn't about building. It's not talking about Rasmus Højlund and the plan there and Amrabat and this, that and the other. It's about this. You know, we wanted to basically have an inquest into the game and work out some of the good parts and some of the bad parts. And all of a sudden, it's just been taken away from that. Maybe a good thing because of the way that we lost. But I just see that as a real issue. And to air your dirty laundry in public, you're always asking for trouble from the manager side and the player side. And I don't know how this gets fixed. I don't know how they move forward from it. Do they try to move forward? You know, he's an asset as well. Jadon Sancho cost Manchester United 73 point something million pounds. And there's been no return on that again. And now we've got an unhappy player and an unhappy manager with that player. And it looks like their relationship has been fractured and doesn't show any signs of getting back on track. You know, this is a player who we need something out of. You know, Owen said, you know, and I kind of see where he's coming from, where people talk. Are other players saying, like Owen said, I can't believe you're not starting. Anthony's been playing rubbish. How are you not getting a look in, man? God, Ten Hag's mugging you off, man. I wouldn't have that. Oh, yeah, I see your frustration there. Or Sancho's family or his agents or his friends, you know, they're seeing how their loved one's being treated. They're seeing things that they're not happy with. Have they advised them and said, nah, listen, man, you've got to stand up for yourself. Enough is enough. Has Sancho done it off his own accord and said, nah, enough is enough. I'm not taking this anymore. You know, and then on the flip side is that, has Ten Hag said, I've covered for Jadon too long. I haven't been happy with his levels for a long, long time. There's a reason why I'm not going to him. He's not showing enough desire. He's not showing enough professionalism. These are all answers to the questions we're looking for, but we're never going to know. And that's the frustrating thing. Who does this help? It doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help the fans understand what's going on any better than they already did. Doesn't help Jadon Sancho get back into the squad and play his best football. And it doesn't help Ten Hag with a squad that is struggling to win away from home. And now he's had a player who's a top talent who he hasn't been able to use through his own decision. So, I don't know. It's not what you want going into the international break, but it's typical of Man United, isn't it? It's just typical drama, typical circus. There's always something going on. So, not good. I don't really know who to blame. I think it's about 6 to 1, half a dozen the other. Some of me is saying fair play. He's sticking up for himself because he clearly feels that something's been said that he doesn't agree with. But I think that level of statement with that level of detail, plus missing out the bits that maybe could help us understand it or not, maybe does more damage than good. But I get it. When you're emotional, when you're fed up, when you're frustrated, when you feel like you've been lied on, and in factual information has been put out there from the manager, he's snapped. And I think he may look back on that and say, maybe I shouldn't have done it, but it's done now, he's done it. And the Ten Hag situation, like I said, I would ideally like Ten Hag in that situation to say, he's got a cold. He picked up a knock in training. Just say that, get to the international break and you two can thrash it out. But again, from how I backed Sancho, from maybe seeing his thinking, did Ten Hag think, nah, do you know what? We had limited options today. I could have done with Sancho today, but because he's done this for so long in training all week, been crap, been moaning, not trying hard enough, not showing it, not showing the desire. Does this have something to do with last year where he sent him away? Again, we don't know. So because I don't know all the facts and none of us do, I think it's very hard to pick a side on this. I'm just a fan in the middle saying, what is going on at my club? And now a massive, massive investment is now looking like, how does he get back into the squad? Now, we've seen it with players in the past before, at other clubs and here. Sometimes you never say never, but it definitely looks very, very tough for Sancho to have a route back at the moment. What I'd like to see is they talk it out. If they feel they need to fine him a certain amount of wages, then do it, and then just draw a line under it. That's the quickest thing that can happen. But as soon as you put this stuff on social media, this is what happens. Nobody wins. So I'm absolutely fuming about it, really. And we'll have to wait and see what happens from this. I'm not going to go in on Jadon Sancho. I don't know his personal situation. Don't know the circumstances behind it. Do I think it's ill-advised? Yes. However, Ten Hag, do I think in the moment he could have maybe stopped this from happening by just coming up with a flippant comment? Even if we read between the lines, even if we went, illness, yeah, he always says that, he's probably lying. Oh, a knock, oh yeah, right, not even fit enough to be on the bench. We might have read between the lines. Or even if he just says, it's tactical. How many times has Mikel Arteta done that? How many times has Pep done that? Oh, you didn't pick so-and-so. Like, Gabriel's been out the team for ages. Oh, what's going on there? It's tactical. You know, yeah, some people are reading between the lines saying, is there an issue? Is there this? Is there that? But it isn't factual. It's not the man just saying, he's been a wally. He's done this. He's done that. So nobody wins. Nobody wins. There you go. Take care, guys.